I'm Drew.
And I'm John. This episode and every future episode is dedicated to all the horror hounds and smokers out there who want to expand their knowledge of the genre and have a good time.
John and I are very happy today because we get to talk about Psycho Goreman. If you have not seen Psycho Goreman, you're doing yourself a disservice. John and I cannot stop singing its praises.
I love the Archduke of Nightmares.
Hell, if you've listened to this podcast in the past several weeks, then you've heard us talking about it here and there. We're very excited because with us today, we have the man himself who plays Psycho Goreman, Matthew Ninaber. He's going to spill his guts to us in an exclusive interview. All that and more today on High on Horror. Interviews, reviews, and the latest news all rolled into one.
And now it's time for Screaming Room, and the folks at Shudder sent us the new docuseries Behind the Monsters. And episode 1, which airs this Thursday, will feature on Michael Myers. But overall, the series is Michael Myers, Pinhead, Freddy Krueger, Jason, Chucky, and Candyman. I love the Michael Myers one they did. I wouldn't say necessarily for us we necessarily learned too much, but it was interesting hearing from James Jude Courtney. And you enjoyed it as well, Drew, right?
Yeah, I did, and I was actually going to say the same thing that you just did. It's the same thing that I've run into buying Halloween on Blu-ray, like the last 4 outings that it's come out in different variations. Like, none of the extras are commentaries. I'm not learning anything new. So I guess like it's well done. It's very well done. It's done in a very classy way, in a respectful way, in a respectable way. Like it's a very well done docuseries, and the episode is really good, especially if you're a Halloween fan. It's just hard to like really. It's really hard for me. I'm not trying to sound conceited. I know you feel the same way. You just said the same thing. It's hard to find something anymore about Halloween where you actually learn something new. So it's more of me just watching a nicely done documentary about stuff I already knew about. But that's not to say there isn't going to be stuff in the other episodes that I'm not going to, know stuff of that they might teach me things,
I mean, Halloween's our favorite horror movie. You and I have both just consumed so much knowledge that we can on it just because it's our favorite. But it was, I would say also, maybe that I liked was that they talked more about the psychology behind it, more so than just facts. I mean, I don't know how many times I can hear that it's a William Shatner mask and watch the same Tommy Lee Wallace video of him spray painting the mask, but I will just keep watching it every time.
Yeah, like the best parts were the parts with Christopher Nelson, the makeup effects guy who's doing the new Halloween trilogy, and James Jude Courtney and Nick Castle, because that was all stuff like newer stuff, and I don't know as much about these newer movies as Halloween 1978. What I did like was that the episode starts and focuses a good chunk of the whole 45-minute episode just on the first Halloween. And then it starts going into the sequels, and it kind of goes through the sequels rather fast, but I was surprised that it actually goes into Halloween Kills. I was not expecting it to go that far into the series. So for those of you who haven't seen Halloween Kills yet, and for those of you who did see it, there's no spoilers in the episode, but it pretty much catches you up on all your history. So it's definitely worth checking out.
And yeah, the good, I'd say, first half to 3/4 of it was just on the original. I was surprised they did not. I mean, I agree with them all, but they didn't have anybody defend Rob Zombie's Halloween.
That was what I was going to say, dude. I actually was going to bring that up. I was going to say, I know that you're happy because they legitimately made a point to focus on everybody shitting on Rob Zombie's Halloween in a tactful and respectable way, nonetheless, way more tactful and respectful than you are, my friend. Yeah. But nonetheless, they do shit on Rob Zombie's Halloween, and rightfully so. I mean, they're not in the same ballpark, and watch the episode to hear what they have to say, because everybody dissects it pretty much the way it is. I understand the love for Rob Zombie's movies, but Rob Zombie's movies do not mix with Halloween. It's just two totally different things. And, apparently you listeners, hopefully, some of you out there agree with us, but looks like a lot of these people in this documentary agree with us.
And I can't remember the lady's name, but she was in the horror noir documentary series.
I'm terrible with names. Don't ask me about that. I'm terrible with names.
She said it in the most polite way. She said, Rob Zombie's Halloween Rob Zombie's Halloween. If you want a grittier Michael Myers, then that movie's for you. But most of us don't want that.
They want to follow the path that the original set. They want to follow the Carpenter Halloween, and yeah, I mean that sums it up fucking right.
Yeah, talking about the psychology, I liked what Carpenter said, and he nailed it, talking about the shape. He doesn't act like a monster, he doesn't move like a monster, and that's what makes him scary. It's not just some guy chasing you. And like if you watch the original Halloweens, like they talk about Nick Castle's movement and just how it's very smooth. The other thing is that if you noticed about his version of Nick Castle playing the shape, they don't talk about it in there, but whenever you watch the movies, his movement is deliberate. There's not a wasted step that he's taken.
Even though he makes those like stiff movements, he still knows where he's going. You know what I mean? But it was funny that you brought that up, because what I was going to bring up was it cracked me up to hear that Nick Castle thought that he was, had to play some like character, and he's like, over there asking Carpenter like, "What am I supposed to do?" And he said Carpenter is like bogged down with like all these other people asking him 500 questions, and Carpenter just goes like, "For Christ's sake, just go over there and walk." Like that's all the role was. He was like, "Just go walk," and yet like
yeah,
it turned into what it did.
I've heard that one before from Nick Castle, and I like. Also, that Nick Castle doesn't refer to the character as Michael Myers. He said that he wants to be referred to as the Shape.
Yeah,
and like
absolutely.
Jamie Lee said, that's what he's credited as in the original.
And now he has the credits for the most on-screen Michael Myers with 4. He's been Michael Myers the most times.
Yeah, after being away for what 40 years.
Yeah, rightfully. But here's the thing, though. That dude made $25 a day. Here's a knowledge nugget for you. That dude, Nick Castle, made $25 a day playing Michael Myers. And that movie went on to gross, I don't even remember the number. My God, it's like, it's millions. Absolutely, it's just millions. And it's like, yeah, the dude deserves to come back and, get some comeuppance. I mean, he made the character, and every movie that has failed in the wake of the first one has done nothing but try to emanate what he did in that first one as the Shape. So yeah, like the whole series has been trying to follow what he did, and nobody's done it right but James Jude Courtney, in my opinion. So I say, yeah, let Nick Castle come back and let him play the role as many times as he needs to. He is that character. He deserves that.
And yeah, I was gonna say I saw something that I never saw before, and I need to go look it up. When they were doing a montage of like the publicity for the original Halloween, back before Letterman had the Late Show, and he had like the Conan O'Brien time slot, that later time slot, John Carpenter was on there, and I was like, I gotta go find this somewhere. Like I never knew he made a Letterman appearance. I mean, you never really see Carpenter ever do the talk show circuit.
That's true.
So I was like, I gotta see if I can find this on YouTube somewhere.
I would definitely watch it, that's for sure. I don't know if it would have anything in it if he'd say anything that I don't already know.
I just want to see
That's the risk, but yeah. It's always worth watching. I would definitely check that out, especially for that type of an event. Like you said, him doing a late show. Carpenter doesn't seem like the Late Show type, but then again, he was a lot younger back then. Had a lot more going on in his career too. He wasn't as like relaxed and comfortable just rolling in his money.
And I was gonna say they also talk about a lot of the sequels on there, and they really don't give any love to any of them. Really, outside of I'd say 2, they basically skip over 3 because Michael's not in it. They just kind of briefly mention it. But I mean, they talk about 6. They talk about Resurrection. I forget who it was that said when Buster Rhymes hit the spinning kick. That's when I was like, oh, this is dead.
yeah, absolutely. And but yeah, it was funny because even though they were talking about that, I'm not again. I don't want to go back to it and dwell on it, but they actually specifically say that to fans of the original Halloween and Halloween films, the low point of the series is the Rob Zombie movies, especially too. And I mean, I can't disagree, but I will say, and I'm gonna say it again, I still think Rob Zombie's Halloween is better than Halloween 6. That is the only Halloween movie that I would put a Rob Zombie movie above. And that just goes to show you how much I hate Part 6, because I have no love for the Rob Zombie remake.
I mean, Anya Staley would totally disagree with you, but I mean, some of her opinions were kind of all over the place. She talked about how she loved Carpenter's version because she complained about the Rob Zombie ones, and were saying about, like, people want it less. That's what made the Carpenter one so good. Yeah. But then she talks about part 6 and says, I know the rules are you're not supposed to explain the monster. I get it. Lovecraft said it. Stephen King said it. I totally get it. I don't care. She continues, I like it if the monster's involved in cults. When horror can lean into that, when they can tap into that, I'm into it. I dig that. That totally baffled me. Like, you went from not liking, you don't want an explanation to a character, but if that character is in a cult, then I'll like the backstory. Like, that's super generic. Like, and also, like, if you get into the producer's cut, I'd imagine she's seen the producer's cut. She seems like a fan of the series. Like, Uncle Daddy Michael, like, it gets even worse. Like, just because he's in a cult, so he's in a pedophile cult, so you like the movie?
I mean, yeah, I don't agree with everybody's opinion on there, but I mean, it's good to see that the people on there actually praise the original, and it's funny to hear them bring up about completists, how there are like the completists out there who just only watch the original. I've actually thought about that a couple of times. Like just kind of like scrubbing my mind clean and just saying there's only this one, but the truth is I just love the character so much that even if the movies are bad, I'm just gonna watch them anyway.
You need the Men in Black pen. You can just wipe your memory, and then you can just stick with the original.
Yeah, there you go. That would. I mean, I wish I had. Yeah, I would. If I had that pen, I would use it for a lot more than that. Let me tell you that right now.
Yeah, so I mean, we were both fans. Next week, the second one is going to be on Candyman, but I mean, it's really well done. I can't say enough good about it. There's really nothing that stood out to me that I went, ugh. I mean, especially when you get a group of 4 to 5 people that all say Rob Zombie's Halloween sucks, I'm in.
All right, well,
I know they're people of high intelligence.
I think that with that, we're ready to smoke, so let's get into Strainwreck. And now it's time for Strainwreck, the segment where John and I discuss which strain we're getting wrecked on in each episode. Today, we're smoking a Kamikaze. Kamikaze isn't a strain. Well, it might be somewhere. I don't know.
It's a bunch of strains.
But yeah, the Kamikaze that John and I are smoking is a pre-rolled joint that is packed with some fucking fire. The taste is unpredictable, but the effect is going to send you to the fucking moon. See, Kamikazes are made up of all the weed trimmings and shake that's left over at the end of the day. So it's multiple strains of top shelf bud all mixed together. These always taste delicious.
Spark that shit.
Yo, I was thinking, hold on. Don't you hate it when you're trying to watch something, but you keep zoning out, like, because you're so high? Like, I'm legit, like, imagining, like, the Psycho Goreman sequel in my head. Probably nothing like what the actual fucking film's going to be like. But I'm off making movies in my head, imagining shit instead of focusing on what I'm doing. And, like, that's what happens when I smoke these. Like, I almost feel like they get the creative juices flowing.
And then there's, like, I also hate how when I distract myself from movies, Sometimes you gotta learn just to like turn off the phone completely.
Yes.
I mean, the problem was like for example, The Walking Dead, when I used to watch that, and I started getting it was more towards the part where I was not like on my way out of the series. But what ended up happening is I would watch, it would be 30 minutes into like a 45-minute episode, and I'd be like, I don't know a fucking thing that has happened in this episode.
Yes, it happens.
And then I'll rewind it, and I'll be 20 minutes into my like restart, and I'm like, nah, I still didn't pay attention. And I'm like, I gotta put the phone away. Like, technology's like made my ADD worse. Like I told you, I used to read books all the time. I can't do books. I'll start reading books and I'll start zoning out. I got to do audiobooks. So, yeah, I definitely know what you talk about zoning out, and this shit don't help either.
Right, or I was thinking about, like, I hate it when I smoke so much that I just immediately become fatigued and just ruin, like, all of my night's plans. Like, it's never done on purpose, you know, but it happens where, like, I'll plan to do a movie marathon. I'll be like, I'm gonna fucking stay up late and eat some pizza and popcorn and, you know, drink a ton of soda and just be totally unhealthy, smoke a ton of weed.
That's a normal day for me.
And then, like, I'll end up making it through, like, maybe half of the first film, and then I get hit with a weed nap, and then I wake up, like, as the first movie's ending, to put the second one on and go, oh shit, I still got the bong here, and take another bong rip.
Or, oh man, it happened to me last week. I forget what I was watching on my phone, but or I was out of my car smoking. And dude, I ripped the bong like 3 times back to back, And I think it was when I might have been watching The Expanse season 1.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Dude, I just started getting a headache
getting
halfway through the episode because I smoked too much. And I'm like, man, like, and I'm like, I just want to go to bed. And I'm like, but there's 20 more minutes left in this episode. Although it has happened to me when I was rewatching Sopranos that I smoked too much.
I knew you were going to fucking bring up the Sopranos.
I fucking fell asleep in my car one night watching an episode for like 3 hours.
Oh, you told me, didn't you wake up at like 5 in the morning in your car?
Yeah, I fell asleep like 2:30 and it was like 5:30, 5:45. It's like, it was during summer, so like the light was just starting to come back. The sun was coming up. Oh man, this kamikaze fucking me up already.
Yeah, right. All right, man. Well, look, we're nice and baked. So, why don't you tell me what's going on this week in horror history?
This week in horror history.
So we got a lot of films celebrating anniversaries this week. When a Stranger Calls, Graveyard Shift, A Nightmare Before Christmas, Shocker, which we might be talking about in an upcoming episode, Saw, Halloween, and Halloween 2, which, I mean, let's see, we did a Halloween Kills review. We just talked about the Behind the Monsters with Michael Myers, but fuck it, let's talk about Halloween and Halloween 2, too. I mean, it's October, right?
Well, first of all, thank you to all you listeners out there for listening to our Halloween Kills review. That thing is fucking killing it in the numbers. We can't believe how well it's doing. That's like, wow. Thank you all for listening.
Yeah, we just kind of thought that one was going to be like a toss-away episode.
Yeah, we just wanted to talk about the movie, and that ended up being huge for us. So,
well, not toss-away. That sounds terrible, but not one of our normal episodes.
Yeah, it's a special episode. We weren't expecting much of it. It was just to, like, go get our opinion out there, but it got a lot of hits. Thank you all for listening. But yeah, to get into celebrating the anniversary of Halloween, hell yeah, man. It was the success of Assault on Precinct 13 that made Erwin Yablans reach out to Carpenter because he realized that John could do a good movie for cheap, So Yablans hired Carpenter to do a slasher film, and Carpenter had 3 stipulations. He wanted his name above the title, total creative control, and final cut. Yablans was happy to meet Carpenter's demands as long as Carpenter changed the title from The Babysitter Murders to Halloween because Yablans wanted it to be a holiday film, and the rest is history.
And Akkad gave him all that because of the amount of money he said he could make the movie on. When they went to him for finance, and he said, "Sure, well, I'm sure I'm going to screw it up." But was it 300,000? That might sound too much, maybe.
It was either 30,000. It might have been 30,000, honestly, but it could be 300,000. Yeah.
Somebody's going to fact check.
There's a 3 in there. Yeah.
Yeah, there's a 3 in there. Anyway, when he went to Mustafa Akkad, he said, "Sure, if you can make it for that much, you can do whatever you want with the movie."
Yeah, right. Well, I'm sure that it's the same way for you. But Halloween was the first film that I saw that really scared me. I mean, The Exorcist surpassed it in scares, but in regards to the first film that I saw that truly scared me and chilled me, it was Halloween. And but it was also the one that made me come back for more. I was scared, but I wanted to keep watching it. I couldn't describe it, and it didn't make sense. And now, of course, I've come to realize that that's because Halloween gave me that bug. You know what I mean?
I would say the Universal monster scared me as a kid, but not in the way that Halloween scared me. Where the Universal monsters, when I was a kid, when the movie was over, I wasn't scared.
They never scared me. I was never scared. I thought they were cool.
I'm talking about when I'm like 3, real young. It was my first introduction. I mean, it's pretty tame to introduce kids.
At 3, I understand, yeah.
So, like, The Mummy was kind of creepy when I was a kid, and I remember that. Not Frankenstein, and not Dracula. I don't know why. It was just The Mummy. I think because all the ancient Egyptian stuff. But, like, as soon as the movie was over, I wasn't scared. Halloween was over, and that shit stayed with me.
That's what I'm saying. And
dude, I don't know how many times I could tell you there was Halloweens when I was super young, and Halloween would be on TV. I would be absolutely scared. Like, as a kid, I just felt so anxious. I could feel my heart race, but I keep watching it, and I would put it on, even though all it took was the music, and I was fucking scared.
Well, again, I've mentioned this before, but I used to have a Michael Myers figure, and during the day, I fucking adored that thing. It was 18-inch McFarlane figure with the motion activated sound of Laurie screaming at the end of the movie when she's like going house to house asking for help. And man, I stared at that thing all day admiring it. I remember I had gotten an allowance for like cutting grass and shit, and I went to the mall and Spencer Gifts and I bought that thing. And but look, when it got dark out, like when it was dark out and I had to go to sleep and I had to turn the lights out and everything, and like there was a moon in the sky and it was like legit dark out, I made it face the wall and I turned away from it when I slept.
Yeah, I can't blame you. Dude, I still can remember, obviously I don't remember how young I am, but I can still vividly remember a night that I just couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I just saw Michael, like...
That's me with Linda Blair from The Exorcist.
Dude, like, I couldn't sleep. Like, Michael messed me up for a while, and then, like, I kept telling myself, but then why do I keep watching this movie? And I remember being... Just the one day I was like, this doesn't make sense, because I hadn't seen it in a while, and I was like, I want to watch Michael Myers. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, why? I'm just going to get scared later tonight, like, and not be able to sleep, but I want to watch it. Like I said, like one of my earliest memories with horror is watching VHS tapes, and one of them was my dad had the recording. I don't know how many times I probably said it, of, you know, Halloween 1 through 3 on VHS. So I only had the TV version for the longest time. But in fairness, you're not really losing a whole lot watching the TV version of Halloween.
The TV edit's really good. I agree.
Yeah, and you got extra scenes, which messed me up when I actually went and saw Halloween, because I grew up only watching that VHS. I never actually owned the movie.
So you were like, where's the scene with Laurie, like in the towel? I know you were looking for that scene.
We took Kenny to Brandywine Theater. Well, not you, me and another friend. I don't even think you knew. Yeah, you didn't know Kenny then, but anyway, it's irrelevant. We went to the movies and took Kenny to go see Halloween for the first time. And I remember watching it, and they said, you know, before it was a disclaimer, it said that they hadn't updated the technology. It would be like if you had seen the movie in 1978. And I was like, where are all these... There's scenes missing from this. And I never knew that there was a TV version until years later when I saw it in theaters and saw the actual original version, that these were added in scenes. I wasn't sophisticated enough to pick up that these scenes had been added when they shot Halloween 2 years later. Right. As a kid, I was just like, oh, okay, it's all part of the story. Like, to me, Halloween 1 and 2 came out like together. Like, as a kid, I used to just think, because that's how I always saw them, I just figured they came out like together.
Yeah, I mean,
which would never ever happen.
No, but you know, like Halloween, the original, man, is everything that a horror movie should be and could be. It pulled off being effective, scary, and enjoyable. The music in and of itself is haunting and gives you the chills. And they did it without gore, showing you that you do not need buckets of blood to make a good, scary movie, and the bad guy gets away.
Yeah, ambiguous ending, a big theme of Carpenter movies. We could sit here and keep talking about Halloween all day, but we'll get into Halloween 2 here.
Cool.
We could definitely let's keep going on about the original. You made me I made you like Halloween 3 more, and you made me like Halloween 2 less. I always knew the Laurie scene was there with her crawling, but I never really thought about it until you mentioned it.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, there is the whole, the scene that John is referring to is the scene where Laurie's outside the hospital.
Yeah, I should have explained that better.
Yeah, and you're high, I understand. She's laying where Laurie's outside the hospital, and Loomis and Miriam and the police officer are walking into the hospital, and she's like, Laurie, that is like crawling on the concrete in the parking lot, and she's like struggling to like get a whimper out. For some reason, she can't fucking speak in that second. And as soon as Loomis and Miriam and the police officer get into the hospital, Laurie lets out a huge scream that they can't hear now that they're in the hospital. And once I pointed that out to John, that seemed to have really wrecked the movie for him.
And it's weird because I had mentioned it before that I thought it was weird, but I just never really thought that kind of does ruin the movie.
But what about hold on, but let's talk about the other thing though.
Oh no, I still had something to say about that scene.
Okay.
The other thing I always say is, it's a glass door. How the hell did Loomis and them not hear her? Like,
and it was quiet out in that scene. It was
quiet.
There was nobody out there.
Everybody's dead in the hospital. It's dark. They're maybe 15, 20 feet into the building, and she's screaming in the parking lot like you're going to hear something. They're just walking like oblivious until she's banging on the door.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and Jamie Lee had some lungs on her. You know what I mean? That was a shrill scream, definitely. But yeah, let's talk about. I want to talk about the second thing that you don't like about the film that I pointed out to you, which is the walk.
Yeah, when Michael finally finds Lori and he's chasing her through the hospital, and then when she climbs through that window in the basement. And he's swinging at her. Also, another thing is the scalpel with the like eraser or whatever's on the tip of it.
Oh yeah. You
know what I'm talking about? When he's like swinging, or the scalpel.
The scalpel, yeah.
And it has like, I don't know, like a rubber eraser or something on the end of it that you can clearly see.
Yep.
Then she crashes to the other side. Michael comes through the door. She's in the elevator. He turns the corner and the door is just opening. She's able to get in there, get the door almost completely closed before Michael has to walk 10 feet. Maybe?
Maybe, yeah.
And
6
then
feet,
also,
6.5.
I mean, the elevator door would have opened back up.
Agreed.
When it went on his hand.
Agreed.
I don't know, maybe the 80s was different. Maybe
Or because it's Michael,
Michael,
there's no bumpers on the elevator now.
Maybe. But overall, 2 is one of the better sequels.
No, I agree. What's your favorite kill? Mine is where he comes up behind the nurse and he stabs her in the back and like lifts her up. And that's what I'll say. It was later or more recently rather made into a meme. Surprise finger in the butt. That's absolutely hilarious. But yeah, what's your favorite kill?
Dude, my favorite. It's early on. The claw hammer to the head. Dude, it's also the sound it makes where it just makes that thump just when it hits him in the skull.
Yeah, that one's brutal. I thought you were going to say the hot tub scene because that's actually a really good one too.
Yeah, and apparently, hold on, knowledge nugget for you. Apparently, the pool was very dirty because the girl he kept dunking, the water was cold, and apparently it was filthy, and she ended up getting some kind of like infection from it.
Oh yeah.
And got sick from it.
I've heard that. Yeah, and also a knowledge nugget. I know you know this, but our listeners might not. John Carpenter actually said that he did not want to make a sequel. This was not supposed to happen. Like if you look at all of his movies, They Live, Assault on Precinct 13, he doesn't do sequels. He wasn't a sequel guy. He was a one-off guy. And yeah, so there wasn't supposed to be a sequel. He was basically pressured. I don't know if I'd say pressured. He was bribed, I'll say, into
he was, I believe, sued. They were going to court over it. I believe there was legal action.
Okay.
Because it was in a contract.
Well, either way, he basically wrote a sequel at gunpoint, and he was up at 2 a.m. drinking a 6-pack, and literally could not think of what to do because to him the story was over. So he just goes, "Okay, what the hell with it? I'll make Laurie his sister." I mean, that's literally how it came about, and
that came out right after Empire Strikes Back.
Correct, and the thing about that is that makes it a family vendetta. So I understand like why he would do that because he did kill Judith and everything. Maybe try to draw like a connection there, but then that makes all the other killings kind of irrelevant. If it's a family and vendetta, why is he going house to house killing like Laurie's friends? You know what I mean? He didn't do that as a kid. He just killed Judith. So I get why he did it, but again, my point is just that you can tell that it's forced, and that literally at this point in the series, just at film 2, you can tell that they're reaching to continue it. Carpenter really made a complete film with that first one, and that shows.
Yeah, and all of our complaints for it, again, still better than a lot of the ones out there.
I mean, yeah, I would say it's like, let's rank the Halloween movie. Well, actually, no, we did that online.
Yeah.
You all need to look online. Check our Instagram. Yes, check that. But I will say,
Drew and I did a tier list, so it's not necessarily ranked in order, but they're ranked by like the S, A, B, C, D, E, F.
Yep.
I will say, Drew only had 1 in the S. I had 2.
Well, yeah.
That came off really weird.
Okay. Jesus.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
But I don't even remember where I was fucking going with that, man. Anyway, what?
I don't know.
I guess just move us along then.
Yeah, I don't know where the hell we got to, but now it's time for Puff Puff Ask, the segment of the show where Drew and I answer questions that you send us through Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at HighOnHorror420 and through email at HighOnHorror420@gmail.com.
I'll start off with a question from a listener named Steve from Bell, California. Steve asks, "What's your favorite movie monster or makeup effect?" My favorite movie monster is hands down Godzilla. Absolutely, like no question about it. But I'm not going to do it because we're going to talk horror today.
What about Hogzilla though?
Technically, it's Godzilla, but horror wise, it's Pumpkinhead, and it always has been. I love the movie as well. It's my favorite movie monster and my favorite monster movie. And I love the design. Stan Winston was such a fucking beast back in the day, man.
That Jurassic Park.
Yeah, man. Terminator 2. You know, I mean, yeah.
T2 still holds up.
Yeah, it all does, man. You know, and Pumpkinhead was always my favorite. Like I said, as far as makeup effects go, I'd have to say the transformation scene in An American Werewolf in London takes that one. I remember the first time that I saw that movie, I was blown away by that transformation scene, and honest to God, I still am every time that I watch that film.
For just monsters, Pumpkinhead's a good one. I like the design on that. I mean, Frankenstein from the 30s, I mean, it's simple, but it's effective.
Yeah.
Predator is another good one. The one I would pick, it's super cliche, I think, but Alien. I just love the design of Alien.
I mean, it's cliche, but it's
like all of it. The face huggers, the eggs, the queen, all of it.
No, I get how you can say it's cliche. But it's not. Sometimes things are cliche for a reason, and that it might seem cliche, but there's no wrong answer in ever saying alien. That's just facts. That's just facts. Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw Alien. I was 5th grade, maybe, and I'd never seen it before. It was on Monster Vision. My dad fell asleep, so I'm watching it by myself. And as 10 in 5th grade, I'm sitting here going, this movie's so slow. This movie's so slow. And I'm just like, when am I going to get to see this alien? And then I see the alien, and it scared the shit out of me.
Yeah, right.
When I was 10, I was like, this is terrifying.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. Yeah, where especially like at the end when it's on the ship, just like a camouflage on the ship with Ripley. Yeah, that when like you see it move on the wall, and you're like, oh my God, that's not just like hoses. That's the fucking alien just fucking creeping up on the wall.
I get spooked playing Alien Isolation, and it creeps me out. I feel like that creeps me out more than movies is playing the game, because I feel like you really immerse yourself in some of those.
You're in the moment,
horror.
whereas you're watching a moment when
I'm creeping around the corner. I got the flamethrower out. I'm like, this son of a bitch ain't gonna get me. But makeup effect, I would say anything from The Thing. I
mean, that's man, that's a good
With those
answer.
like spaghetti noodles coming out of the dog. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, totally. Little sour straws.
Little angel hairs.
No, The Thing's a great answer though. Yeah, like I said, anything out of it. That's solid.
I mean, you
that's
can even almost say
solid.
that for a creature design too.
Absolutely.
But I mean, it has multiple designs, really.
Yeah, no doubt. The funny thing is that Rob Bottin did the makeup effects on that film, and I mean he's an absolute monster, and he actually took over. I just brought up An American Werewolf in London, and Rob Bottin actually took over doing the Howling for Rick Baker, while Rick Baker went over and did the makeup effects for An American Werewolf in London, and then Rick Baker went on to win like the Academy Award for best makeup effect. So Rob Bottin is Rick Baker's protege, and that dude kicks ass. He did all that thing. He did all the stuff on the Thing. Yeah, absolutely. And also knowledge nugget.
An amazing job.
Yeah, knowledge nugget though. Rick Baker actually said that the latex on the werewolf face in An American Werewolf in London during the transformation, the latex on the werewolf face tore shortly after they got the take of like the snout extending. So had they not gotten that take when they did and had to reshoot it, the effect would have been ruined because it had a hole in it.
Damn. Well, I mean, let's get on to our second question here. And that is, what's a movie you wish you got to see in theaters when it came out? And that is from Brian in Howie in the Hills, Florida. Howie in the Hills, there is no way. There's no way this is real. Hold on. I'm getting confused.
Howie in the Hills?
Howie in the Hills, Florida.
That sounds like some shady shit.
This is a real fucking city. It was established May 8th, 1925, according to Google from Howie.org. It's incorporated as Howie and was officially changed to reflect the beautiful rolling hills and sparkling lakes which he dubbed the Florida Alps.
Where you trying to meet
That
up,
sounds-
dogs?
Oh man, I'm probably
Howie
gonna
in
get
the
some,
hills?
I'm gonna get some people mad. That sounds redneckish as hell. The Florida Alps? Get out of here. Anyway, I guess I'll.
Damn, just going on our fucking listeners.
I mean, how you know?
Damn,
There's no
man.
way they really live there.
Oh, it's a real place, man.
It's a real place. I don't buy it though.
Okay.
But now, since we got to that, I'll repeat the question here. What's a movie that we wish we got to see in theaters when it came out? I mean, I could go back to what I just said about Makeup Effect, The Thing. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Halloween's an easy answer. I've seen Halloween in theater multiple times, but obviously not when it came out. I'm not. That's the easy answer, so I'm not going to include that. I'll pick another one, and for me, that would have to be The Shining. I would love to have seen that when that came out.
That's a good one. Yeah, I was going to say Halloween as well, but
I feel like it's too easy of an answer for us because everybody knows we love Halloween.
and we did kind of like, we didn't see it back in the day, but we did kind of get redemption because I've seen Halloween in theaters now about twice at least. I think maybe 3 times. So
In fairness, I guess I've seen The Shining a couple years ago in theaters.
okay, well,
Maybe,
yes.
maybe I'll think on another one then that I haven't seen in theaters at all.
Well, yeah, what I was gonna say was the Halloween sequels. I would have loved to have. I know it sounds crazy because like people in the moment are like, "Oh, it's miserable," but I would have loved to have been one of those people standing outside in the lines or like wrapped around the block waiting to see all those sequels. Also, Evil Dead 1 and 2.
Those are good ones. Halloween 4, I think, of the sequels would be real fun. Because, I mean, Halloween 2 had a lot of hype between it. Had a lot of hype for it after the first one. But Michael had been gone for 6 years, and then 4 comes back. I feel like that would have been a fun movie to go to. And I like 4 a little bit more than you do, but that would be a good one. Trying to just think of a movie, because I think, you know what, I'm just going to stick with The Thing, because I haven't seen that one in theaters. I think
that would have been
I'll
awesome.
go with that one. Because I saw Shining for, was it its 40th or something anniversary just recently. I saw that in theaters, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Candyman would have been. Well, I mean, it's kind of a little like later on, but never mind. No, Candyman.
Because I was going to also
there's
say
no rush to
Nightmare on
see
Elm
Candyman.
Street.
It's a
but-
great movie, but
I was going to say Nightmare on Elm Street, but I saw that at Penn Cinema.
yeah,
It was it's where they had the beer local beer companies come in, and you get a ticket for like $20. You get to see the movie. There's like free popcorn that you just like scoop out, and they give you 2 beer tickets. So I had 2 beers. Nicole went with me because she loves Freddie. She doesn't drink beer, so I got 2 beer tickets. And this lady sitting next to me was like, "Oh, you like beer?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And she was like, "Oh, I don't like beer." So then I had like 6 beers.
Oh my
and
God.
Got to just chill and watch A Nightmare on Elm Street. It was fucking awesome.
just pounding beers. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Man, you know, I really wish like if we could go. So you had brought up the Men in Black little like pen thing earlier, so I'm gonna bring up the Click remote from the movie Click, that terrible Adam Sandler movie.
It's not bad.
If there was a way that I could rewind time, I would love to place me and you in a theater in Italy when like Dario Argento's Deep Red played, and like it was all Italian, and you didn't know anything that anybody was fucking saying, and we're just listening to basically the crazy soundtrack and watching the crazy deaths just getting fucking baked. I don't know why, but that just sounds amazing to me, the fact that we wouldn't know what they were saying.
It's funny you brought up fucking Giallo, because I was just thinking about this the other day, because we were talking about how some people have said that Halloween's got a little too violent. It's not like the original one. I mean, not too violent, but more over the top with the violence. But like you and I were talking, and we were like, that wasn't the way movies were in the 70s. They weren't bloody. And then I was thinking, and then later that night I was thinking about that, and I was like, yeah, except for Giallo movies, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
But, yeah, I mean, I would just like to go to Italy, period.
I mean, yeah, but to see like a horror movie back in the day when horror was like respected and had actual good movies coming out, that would have been something cool, you know?
Yeah, 70s were good to Italian filmmakers and westerns and horror movies.
Absolutely. Well, all right, well, don't forget to write in your questions to us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at High on Horror 420, or email us at highonhorror420@gmail.com. Write to us. We love hearing from you. Now it's time to get into our review/discussion of this week's film, Psycho Goreman.
Psycho Goreman is a 2020 movie that centers around our man, the Archduke of Nightmares, the hunky boy Psycho Goreman, who's unearthed after Mimi and Luke play a game of crazy ball, and Mimi is making Luke dig his own grave. They find the Paraxidike, and they awaken Psycho Goreman. He wants to destroy the world. He talks about some dark things that happen in the other realm. These kids don't care because they have the Paraxidike and they can control them.
Well, let me just say that, John, I have known you a long time. Man, I have known you a long time. And this is the hardest that I have ever seen you laugh at a movie. I mean, like, there was points where, like, I, like, wasn't laughing and I was looking over because I heard laughter, and you were just over there giggling by yourself on the fucking couch across the fucking living room.
Dude, there's so many, like, and it's not just, like, what they present. It's just, like, subtle things in the background and other little things that you just notice that crack me up. Like, I told you the one when their friend Alistair becomes a brain, and they're there to play crazy ball, and he's in a line, but you just look back and you just see like a serpentine line from where like the wet brain trail has like led up to where he is now.
Yeah, I had actually seen the movie like several times at that point and still didn't notice that when you had pointed that out. But our friend Kenny flew in late one night. I'm going to tell the story to our listeners. Our friend Kenny flew in late one night. So, we all got baked. It was like 2 a.m.
Oh, it was
way
way back
right?
from the mic. It was late.
Yeah, and so I just randomly suggest, that you guys watch Psycho Goreman, and I'm glad I did, because that was the most fun I've ever had watching a movie with you guys, and we were missing dialogue because of how much we were laughing from prior scenes. It was absolutely insane. Like, the three of us laughing like that brings a smile on my face thinking about it. That's one of those things, like, thinking back when I'm an old man, I'm going to think about good times, and believe it or not, watching Psycho Goreman with you two is going to be one of those moments, because I was just I just enjoyed that so much. And when you can find a movie that really, like, brings everybody together to that point where, like, everybody's just laughing and in a good mood, I mean, come on, man. I love that fucking movie. What's there not to like about it? I'm not trying to grease its wheels, but I mean, it's just badass.
It's so much fun. Like I told you, I was rewatching it yesterday before we recorded, and I had Nicole watch it for the first time, and she just said, "This movie's ridiculous." I said, "But you like it, right?" And she goes, "Yeah." It's just, the movie gets more and more ridiculous, and if you try to explain it to somebody that hasn't seen the movie, like the meat sword, like what?
I know.
Like,
I know.
But once you see it, like, it's so ridiculous, but it works.
Exactly. And
It's just, and then also how PG and Mimi and Lucas, or I'm sorry, Luke, I mean, he might be Lucas, but how they just play off of each other, where he's like talking about how he's going to bathe in their family's blood, and their friend's just like, okay, bye.
I know, man. All the kids do a great job. Owen and Nita, who play Luke and Mimi, they do a great job. Also, I gotta say, the dad Greg, played by Adam Brooks,
My
is
favorite character.
fucking hysterical. The fucking flip during the crazy ball at the end of the movie, dude.
Dude, crazy ball, and also with the dad, my favorite part is where the mom is now well, I wouldn't say she is a Templar, but she's been giving the outfit, and she's in a battle, and she's yelling to him, and he goes, "Oh, I wish I could help you, but I'm just too damn lazy, Susan."
Well, well, one of the things that I wanted to say about this movie that is really impressive to me is that if you are familiar with the movie, if you're not, check it out. If you go all over social media, and like, horror and genre stores, there is Psycho Goreman merchandise everywhere, and everybody is talking about this movie. There are Kickstarters or GoFundMe's for comic books. I mean, it's like the merchandising and the fan base is absolutely crazy. And that's what's funny to me is that when you are trying to describe this movie to someone, it's almost impossible to describe without them like losing interest or without them like thinking that it's just absolutely crazy and that they would never watch it. But yet they found a way to market the movie properly. You have so many movies that fail because the studio's like, oh, we didn't know how to market it. Yet with a movie like Psycho Goreman, they knew the marketing, just knew what they were doing, and they nailed it, and they marketed it to the people who got it. Because everybody who watches this movie gets it. You either get it or you don't, but the people who get it really fucking get it. It's almost like the movie was made for the people who do get it, because it just clicks on all fronts. It's such an amazing movie.
I wanted to bring up something. We were talking about Stan Winston from Pumpkinhead, Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
What about Psycho Goreman dressing up as Sam Neill's character
from
Jurassic Park with the hat? And then the best part is when they're shooting the bullets and he's doing like
the Batman
Dark
gauntlets.
Knight gauntlets, just like deflecting them.
And when he's like, I should have let them shoot you. But Psycho Goreman himself is played to perfection. I love that he doesn't break character until the very end. The whole movie, he's just ruthless and a dick. But it's made comical because he can't do shit because, Mimi has the stone. The dark humor and sarcasm in the film is unparalleled.
I didn't notice it the first time, but rewatching it, I cracked up, is when Mimi brings him stuff after they make him sleep in, was it the garage or whatever?
Yeah.
She's bringing him like the magazines. I'm not even talking about the hunky boy part, but she was like, we brought you some videos. Sorry we didn't have any pornos. Like, what?
Like, why does she know that? No, the kids are so funny, and that's one of the things is that like they're in this situation that like they should not be in. And that's what's so funny is that they're so out of place, or rather Psycho Goreman is so out of place. But that's what makes it funny. Do you agree with me on this? I know it's gory, but is it or is it not like a family movie? I kind of feel like it's a family movie.
There's some stuff that can stop it from being a horror movie, a family movie. Because I thought about that today, and I almost said it to Nicole, and then I picked up some of the language, and I'm like, I guess you couldn't have maybe younger kids, but it is gory. But for the most part, it's really wholesome movie.
Yeah, like it's crazy because the movie is it's a story. It's almost a story of the Grinch in a sense, like it almost not in a technical term, but just in the sense that it's the monster grows a heart. So it does definitely.
Is this love?
it definitely is. It definitely is it can be definitely interpreted as a family film. Like John said, like if you can get past a couple of things, like a little bit of gore, but it's all done, mind you, lightheartedly. There's nothing where there's ever anybody like getting butchered where you're like, oh my god, my kid shouldn't see this. It's all kind of done in an over the top way.
Maybe the meat sword.
Maybe. Okay.
That's a little rough.
I mean, but either way,
like
yeah.
A lot of it, like when he first meets those guys in the garage, he makes them explode.
Yeah. But yeah, I think that that it's just it is kind of wholesome in a sense that it's about a monster growing a heart, and so it's definitely wholesome, and I think that it can definitely be it's almost like it pushes the boundary. It's just a fun movie. I think that it could definitely go down as a family movie, but I understand those of you who are more strict in what you want your children to watch. But I feel that this movie is harmless, honestly.
I mean, he does go from, I believe it was Luke mentions about he's going to kill us, and he goes, you would pray for something so simple. So he's made it clear he was going to torture these kids and kill them, to apologizing. He apologized. Right. And he agreed to spare their lives. Granted, they had to save his life, but then he gives her back the gem at the end, though.
Yeah, he doesn't need it, because he realized that his true power came from within. See, it is wholesome, like I said.
It's a good story.
It is a good story, but before you get there, the in between, that's the fun stuff. I mean, like you just don't see movies like this. Like I said, it's really hard to describe this movie. If it's there's so many things, like so many monsters and creatures and practical effects. It's just such a good movie. I must have seen the movie probably around 10 times now, and it cracked me up because I got the Hunky Boy Edition Blu-ray at Monster Mania. You were with me, when we went, and I forgot to show you, but I actually got a trading card in that set of BioCop, of your boy BioCop.
Man,
You
I
love BioCop.
Dude, he's the best. I
Bang, bang.
I like him and Alistair as the Brain.
Brain Alistair, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. But in regards to this movie, okay, so let's go off a checklist here, okay? Again, we're not greasing the wheels. When John and I love a movie, we're passionate about movies. Look, if we like it, we're gonna give it its just desserts. So let's be real here. Directing and cinematography, check, both good, correct?
Yeah.
Acting and dialogue, check.
Dude, those Nita, is it Josie?
Yeah, Nita, Josie, Hannah.
And Owen Meyer, like, they both did a phenomenal job
Agreed.
for being kid actors. Like, I mean, actually, just for actors.
Makeup effects, humor, music.
Oh no, the makeup's terrible. Yeah, I mean, it checks everything again.
Check. Right. Okay. So, you even get like fight scenes. What is there to not like about this movie? Look, here's the deal. I never give 10s out. I've told you this before. Here's my rule in rating movies. I never give a movie a 10 right away. To me, I think that's jumping the gun. That's like getting married overnight. That's to me like giving any movie a 10 upon a first impression or even a second impression. That's like getting married overnight to me. That's like a 10 is earned. A 10 is when you're 5-10 years down the line and you're thinking of a movie and you're like, damn, that thing still held up and it's just as good as it was back in the day. That's a 10. 10s are earned. I don't believe in giving 10s out. I think 10s happen over time when you see how films hold up. Okay. That being said, Psycho Goreman is a 9 for me. What would you give it?
See, and the other thing is I'm going to give Psycho Goreman a high rating. But also, we've talked about this. I judge a movie for what it is.
Correct.
It's not trying to be Halloween or A Nightmare on Elm Street. It's a horror comedy.
It's self-aware. Yep.
And based on, like, as a horror comedy in that genre, yeah, I'd have to give it a 9. Like, I'm entertained. I've watched it 3 times now. And every time, it's just so entertaining. And like you said, it's ridiculous with the amount of gore that's in it that it feels like a wholesome movie.
There's just like that one monster that has no function but to just like shoot blood. Like he just bathes Psycho Goreman in blood in the middle of the woods.
Yeah,
like what is your purpose?
He punches the glass out and just like dreams. But the best part is like Psycho Goreman was like visibly in pain from the blood.
Yeah, and that's a good and that's true. That's so true though. Like it did have an effect on him. That's very true. But yeah, there's I mean, I can't think of like somebody could say like, oh, the effects look cheap, or some of the effects don't hold up or aren't as good as others. And it's like, again, the movie's self-aware and it's a funny movie, so those types of things are forgiven in this movie. I think that all the effects are good and all the monsters are good. But if you were to say like that one or two looks a little cheesy, or that one's not as well done, it's a lighthearted, funny movie, so it's kind of forgivable. It's almost like it's almost goofy as opposed to being like just stupid or terribly done. So so 9s across the board for John and I. I think I'm done praising this movie if you are.
I wanted to ask you something.
What's that?
I was talking about this with Nicole watching it. Pandora.
Yeah,
when you break it down, Psycho Goreman's not the bad guy.
No, he's not.
He just wants to give you a quick death. They want to enslave you for
I was
like
say he's fighting oppression.
And
My man is fighting oppression legitimately.
I said, so if those were my 2 options, I'd probably just rather die.
Yeah, I agree.
But I mean, I guess Mimi kind of points it out when she goes and talks to God, per se, when she prays.
Oh yeah.
And she says, "I'm going to go to a battle to watch evil fight less evil or more evil." But let's talk about when Psycho Goreman walks away.
Oh my God.
It's this heartfelt moment where he gives her the stone and like, if you're ever in trouble, like you can call me basically. And then he just goes through this portal and they're all hugging while he's just destroying the shit out of whatever city he
Just Iron Manning, like just palming shit, like just holding his palm out.
Explosions everywhere.
And what about that song though, dude? I wanted to say the song.
Dude, all the songs.
The song, but the song that Mimi sings, man. The I'm the heckin' best, yeah, yeah, yeah. Dude, like that shit gets in my head, and
dude,
the thing is
so stupid.
I know. That's what I was gonna say. Like it gets in my head, and part of me wants to be mad because I'm like, but I'm laughing at the same time, so I can't be that mad. It's just it's awesome.
And how
it's
does
so
that
endearing.
qualify as an apology?
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about that.
It doesn't.
She was like, she didn't apologize. I mean, she later does through knocking, but...
Well, I mean, look, all right, look, I'm going to put it all on the table here.
She literally tells him to frig off in the song. So,
correct. But look, you're practically married. I've been married. What Mimi did, that's about as close to an apology as women give. So, I mean, I guess Luke's going to have to take that one and walk with it.
And Luke's really the only good person.
He's the only one that, he's actually a good person. And I love when Psycho Goreman's trying to manipulate him and turn him against her. It's just hilarious. Because, I mean, he has a point. He's not wrong. But at the same time, he's just trying to manipulate Luke as well so he can use him the same way that Mimi's using him. So Luke's just he's just Stretch Armstrong getting pulled in every direction.
Dude, and I just love the reactions. Just the reactions from Psycho Goreman. Like the one time he stands there and then he tries to swipe the gem back from Mimi. And she's like, no, moves his hand. You just hear him go, oh.
But I know, yeah. It's just the sound effects. It's the subtle things. This is one of those movies that, like you had said earlier, how like you were laughing at subtle things in the background. Multiple viewings is just gonna make you notice like more things that you didn't notice in the first viewing. So, or in the second or third viewing, there's always more to catch. So, like I said, no joke, man. No joke. I said this to you the night that I asked you to watch it with Kenny and I, like, when we were all together. That shit was, I'm serious. I'm thinking back to every movie. I'm thinking back to every movie that I like in recent memory. I'm thinking back to Halloween 2018. I mean, like, I'm thinking back to every movie that I can possibly think of recently. And I'm telling you that within the last 5 years, you know what? Let me put it to you this way. This is how I'm going to put it. I have not rewatched a movie this much or have had a movie be as rewatchable as Psycho Goreman since Shaun of the Dead.
I don't know. There was a lot of Child's Play 2 viewings.
But how long has that movie been out versus Psycho Goreman catching up quickly?
Yeah, I mean, you have been watching Psycho Goreman a lot. I've only watched it like 3 times.
It's just so rewatchable though. Like, isn't it one of those movies where
I kind of want to watch it right now?
Exactly. It's one of those ones we could put on right now while we're doing this commentary, and I guarantee you, if we looked up at the screen, there'd be something making us smile.
Dude, it's so good. And like, the other thing is the fight scenes. I mean, as much restriction as they had in their suits, I mean, the fight scenes turned out good.
They turned out great. They did.
And what's your favorite line?
Okay, so there's a lot, but the one that comes to my mind every time, I guess it's going to be cliche, but it's, I do not care for hunky boys. Or do I? That's got to be the one.
I mean, mine is hunky boys, but it's when he's fighting Pandora and the blood spills on the magazine and he just yells, "Not my hunky boys!"
With
and
the
then
meat
he just
sword.
comes with like a super spin slash.
Oh man, this shit's so great. I think we're going to have to watch it when we wrap this up.
Yeah. And now it's time for Burn and Learn, the segment of the show where Drew and I fill you in on behind-the-scenes facts about the movie we're discussing. And in today's case, that's Psycho Goreman.
Oh.
Burn and learn.
During production of the film, the crew called security on Matthew Ninaber due to not knowing what he looked like without the suit. He spent so much time in the suit that no one knew who he was. No one knew who I was till I put on the mask.
Damn, I think that's our first Bane reference. PG's planet, Gygax, is a nod to one of the creators of Dungeons & Dragons, Gary Gygax.
Zombie Cop originated in 2012 in Steven Kostanski's BioCop short film.
If PG's civilian clothes look familiar, as we pointed out earlier, that's because it was Sam Neill's outfit from Jurassic Park.
Why they would choose that outfit of all outfits?
Just which,
I kind of like the punk rock outfit.
But it makes sense because it's just a shirt and like a handkerchief and a hat, so it's pretty easy, but I just don't know how they got there.
But then you see the back of it's all ripped up from like
Yeah.
the spikes on his back. It's just out of this world. Okay, back to it. Steven Kostanski played Brain Alistair in the field scene when he's walking away. And like I said earlier, you pointed that slime out to me in that scene.
Steven Kostanski said that he wanted to make a movie based on an action figure that he wanted as a kid. So he designed PG to look like an epic toy he wanted as a child.
The Council of Aliens was actually only in one scene in the script. I'm glad they had more scenes though, because the scenes with the Galactic Council are fucking great.
That's Jesse Christensen, executive producer of Psycho Goreman, and all the backyard scenes in the film.
This is Nita Josie Hannah's first film, and let me say, she absolutely fucking kills it, right?
Yeah, I mean, she makes you just think she's a little brat. The epic fight between PG and the Paladins Obsidian was filmed in just 2 days.
All right, well, now let's talk to the PG himself and take a trip to Gygax. Our guest today writes, directs, and acts. Most recently, he's the big purple alien from Gygax, Psycho Goreman, the true hunky boy. Welcome, Matthew Ninaber. Thank you for being on High on Horror.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here.
We're excited to have you. We're huge Psycho Goreman fans. This is going to be this whole episode is dedicated to Psycho Goreman, so it's great to have the man himself here. Let's start at the beginning. What made you want to get involved in acting and filmmaking?
I've always been a fan of movies. Like, it's the classic, you watch Jaws, you watch Jurassic Park, and then you just get hooked. So I've always wanted to be involved in it. And whether it's acting, shooting, run around with like swords with my brother as like a high schooler, we just kept on making stuff. And I just couldn't get away from it. It just keeps, leveling up.
Okay, well I understand. So it was something that you knew you wanted to do earlier on, and you just kind of grew into it. So it wasn't something like later in life that you were like, I want to do. It was something that you knew earlier on that you wanted to get involved with.
Yeah, it's always been the plan. Not so much acting, but just being in the film world. I always loved creating and love creating. So yeah, it's been the plan since I think, since I've been 10.
Nice. Well, you co-wrote and directed the 2015 science fiction short Transference, and then adapted it into a feature-length film in 2020. Can you tell us how that came about?
Yeah, no, I had a friend who had an idea for a movie, and we decided to make a little short film, Transference, the short film. And we submitted to some festivals. We had fun with it, and we won a couple festivals. We had a couple investors who came on board and said, "Hey, would you guys like to make this into a movie?" And that was like the dream for me. So we made a very, very ultra low budget film, and it got international distribution, and that started just opening the door for us. We're like, oh, we can make movies. We could actually make a go of this. And again, we're not in any movie industry. Like, I have Mennonites and buggies that are passing, my front yard. So we're like not in the film industry at all. So it was kind of a dream come true, kind of like, Alice in Wonderland, and just kind of falling down and having our eyes open to, hey, we could maybe do this. So.
Yeah, that's great, especially to start as a short film and then be able to make it more full blown like feature length. That's pretty cool to be able to step in there and be like, hey, I can do this again, and kind of do it on like a bigger scale.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, again, the dream come true.
Absolutely. Well, as an actor and a writer and a filmmaker, I got to ask you, like, what's a big goal of yours that you want to achieve before hanging up your gloves? Like, what's your aspirations in the film industry?
Oh, I want to make. I just want to get really good at telling stories. I want to entertain people. I want to make something that would stick around, like Terminator 2, something that just sticks with people. And if I can just entertain them, that would just be the joy to create something I remember watching Terminator 2, and when Arnold Schwarzenegger was going down, he puts that thumbs up as he goes into the molten metal. Like that stuck with me forever. I'm like, if I can make an iconic moment like that for people, I'd be very happy.
Absolutely, and it's funny you bring that up because John and I are huge Terminator 2 fans, and it's crazy that people actually think that the thumbs up is cheesy. Like, I'll tell you straight up, I think that's the last time I ever cried. The last time I
Yeah,
cried that I could
that was
remember
it.
was when Arnold died.
I love that moment. I didn't know people thought that was cheesy. Oh no.
After being scared of him in the first one.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Well,
Yeah.
all right, so let's get into Psycho Goreman. The reason that we asked you here today, I gotta ask you, what made you agree to say, yeah, I want to be Psycho Goreman and take the role?
He was like my Power Ranger version of Terminator 2. I was just looking at this guy. I'm like, there's just so many parallels to
Yeah.
this character, and I'm like, this might be the closest thing. Obviously, it's a crazy world that it's happening in, but I love the big beast monster that has just succumbed to the orders of a little child, and it just brought me right back. I'm like, this is a completely a big twist on one of the movies I love so much. So that's what really drew it to me, is that it had some of those things that just reminded me of movies that I loved growing up. So again, in a very crazy Gygax world, that's just like just absolutely insane. But there was a lot of things that brought me back to that.
Well, that's awesome. I totally understand. And speaking of children, I want to bring up my son Abel, who is 4 years old. I wanted to tell you that he loves Psycho Goreman. I haven't let him see the whole movie because there's a lot of gore in it, but man,
Yeah,
he loves
yeah.
Psycho Goreman. Like
Oh,
his
that's
grandmother
so
got
good.
him. It's like she got him like a purple like dollar store version of a Transformer, and he thinks it's a Psycho Goreman toy, and he makes
I
that thing like
love it.
fuck things up. Like he makes it fight
I
Godzilla,
love
like and I told him that I told him that I was interviewing you today. I was like, I'm interviewing the guy who wears the costume, who plays him, and I was trying to explain that to him, and I said, do you have any questions for him? I'll ask him a question for you. And he said, yeah. And I was like, and it ended up being more of a statement than a question, but he said to me, he said, tell Psycho Gorman, don't get hurt no more, it makes me sad. So
Oh,
don't get your ass kicked in the woods anymore by a bunch of aliens.
that's right. That's right. I love it. I love it. It's so good. And that means so much that he liked the movie. Like, oh, that's so good.
Oh, he loves it. Yeah, absolutely. Like
Yeah.
he brings it. He wants to watch it more than me. It's crazy. Like I don't know if he's a bigger fan than I am now. Like yeah, he loves it. Absolutely.
It is such a funny
Um,
movie because there's, like as you said, there's so much gore, but it's funny gore. Like it's not, I don't know, because I have three boys too, and I've shown them only the trailer, and they keep bugging me to watch the film. I'm like, I don't know, is this, can I let you watch this? I don't even have a clue. So we'll see. One day we're gonna have a movie night. We'll have a movie night.
yeah,
So
it's okay. Like there's certain things like I don't let him, watch like the end fight scenes and stuff like that. But like I always let him see kind of monster on monster violence. So the woods scene
yeah,
where you're
Monster
fighting
on
all the
Monster. I
that's
love it.
okay. But like I don't let him see like
Yeah,
people like or people getting hurt. So yeah, I think
yeah,
that
yeah.
if you edit your own version of it, hit that fast forward, a little bit, you'll be
That'd
okay.
be so funny. The meat sword
But
alone, I just want to see what kids think of the meat sword. It was like, this is just pure nonsense. Anyway,
my son would probably want one. He'd probably be like, "Can you buy me that?"
yeah.
All right, so let's talk about Steven Kostansky. How was it working with him, dude? He seems like a really chill dude.
Steve is so cool. Steve is he's one of a kind, and people say that all the time, but he's really like, he packed in everything that he just loved from his childhood into this movie. And when he wrote it, he's just like, I don't think they'll ever let me write this. And if they ever let me, sorry, they'll ever let me make this. And if they do let me make this, I want to put everything in it. And so he was so much fun to work with. Super chill guy. Loves the craft. Obviously, he loves monsters. Like, you have to understand, he stayed up all night long for months at end building all these creatures. And you go into his apartment. And it's just full. You have Terminator, you have RoboCop, you have all these creatures all around you of just inspiration. And it's kind of like a vault going into his world of just craziness, like absolutely just bonkers. Hanging out with him, but he's a very chill guy. Loves monsters, loves making movies, and I had a blast working with him. So
Have you seen his other films like The Void and Leprechaun Returns? What did
I've
you
seen
think
The
of
Void.
those?
I haven't seen Leprechaun Return. The Void blew me away. I was very impressed
Excellent
with
movie.
just the special effects and just how different The Void is from Psycho Goreman. Because again, I was trying to get grounding. I'm like, what? Like when I was reading the script, I'm like, I need to understand the universe that this is in. And when I saw The Void, it didn't help me at all. Because this movie, this movie is just so different than what Psycho Gorman was. But I was very impressed with the practical effects and what he was doing, and what really amazes me about him is that how he can just jump around in genres or jump around within the genre, and he can be super serious, he can be super funny, and he's very good at what he does. So
Yeah, he's very versatile. That's a fact. Like you said, like The Void is
yeah,
very much John Carpenter esque. Like even has the music, and then you get the Psycho Goreman and Leprechaun Returns, and that's just like those are totally different movies. You wouldn't even know they were directed by the same guy, and then when you know they
yeah,
are, and like that he did like the makeup effects on them too, you're like, holy shit.
yeah, and that was the crazy thing.
Well, how does it feel to see Psycho Goreman being so popular amongst fans? All the shirts coming out, the merchandise like toys, and there's a comic book coming out. Like, how does all that feel?
Y- Yeah, it's always something that you hope for, and then when it happens, you can't believe it happened. Like again, this people have to like it, or else it's not going anywhere. And to see that people liked it and responded to it so well, um, was great because being in that suit was awful. It was hell being in that suit. I hated it, and to see that people liked it and enjoy the movie just makes it worth it. Again, a lot of these movies like Pan's Labyrinth and Hellboy, I love those movies. And you always hear about people complaining being in the suits. And like, oh man, are they just making up excuses? Are they just being dramatic? But it's actually horrible being in the suit. But when people enjoy the movie and when people start like, you see the artwork coming out, the fan art, and people doing their own adaptations of it. And then yeah, the comic book, you're like, all right, that little suffering's worth it. You kind of create a little piece of culture, as silly as it is, and yeah, it makes it worth it. So I would have to say, if that didn't happen, I don't think I'd jump back in the suit. But seeing people's responses, I'm like, okay, I might be able to, do another 30 days. So
Well, now that you've brought up the suit, if you want to bring up the issue that you had on set, you can. I'm not going to out you. That's up to you. But I have to ask you,
oh, there,
were you
there were so
serious
many
about
issues.
having a well, were you serious about having a butt flap on the costume if there is a sequel?
Oh no,
Is there going to be
I
a
want to
contract
put.
stipulation?
No, there is going to be a contract stipulation because I didn't eat when I like the one time. I think it was day 3 of filming, and Steve warned me. He's just like, just so you know, it's fun being in the suit for the first 2 hours, and then all of a sudden something hits you, and you'll hate it, and it'll be the worst thing you've ever experienced. I was like, yeah, yeah, whatever. He didn't tell me it was going to be diarrhea. He never brought that up. Like it literally got to a spot where I was overheating, and then I just knew, like we're halfway through the day, and I just looked at Steve and I looked at Chris, who's his other guy that helps him on makeup. And I was like, guys, if you don't get me out of the suit right now, I'm going to splatter it. Like it is going to be filled to the max. Like I need out right now. And I'm not being dramatic. Like you have, like I'm giving you like a timer. So they got me out, and I basically just pulled that suit down to the ankles, and I was, yeah. We held production because I was in the bathroom just shitting myself. So basically, I overheated, and then after that day, I was like, I'm not eating anything. So I went 28 days, and I would not eat while I was in the suit. So I would not get into the suit
Hmm.
until I was like, I'm empty. I'd go the whole day, just drink a little bit of Gatorade just to keep me going. And then at the end of it, I'd get out of the suit and I'd eat all my food then. And then that was it. And it was like, so sometimes it'd be like 16, 17, 18 hours a day that I'm like, I'm not risking this because that is a horrible feeling, needing to use the bathroom urgently and being wrapped up in foam and paint and all that jazz. It was just, ugh. Yeah, it scares me
You're
putting
damn,
the suit on sometimes. So, yeah.
you're
So
damned if
yeah,
you're
butt
doing, you're
flap.
damned
Sorry,
if you
that
don't.
was a
It's like,
long story to get to the butt flap. So yeah, butt flap.
But so, I wanted to ask you, I was going back to what we were saying. I'm sorry. So it's like I was gonna say, it's like you're damned if you damned if you do, and you're damned if you don't, because it's like you're either starving yourself or you're like, not starving yourself and then like having like other issues. So it's like, I guess,
Yeah.
that's definitely, you definitely suffered playing the role.
Yeah, is definitely a mental game, and like kudos to people who do this like on a regular basis. So far, I've played 3 monsters to date, and it's a grilling. So yeah.
Well, you can tell that PG was one of those films that was like fun as hell to make. Can you tell us, something that like what's the funniest thing that happened on set or behind the scenes?
Oh my gosh, so many things. For me, things that brought me joy, Zombie Cop. I still don't know the guy who played it, but he made me laugh. Like on set, I was legit
Yes.
laughing. I'm like, you are funny, and we need more of you. And I want Zombie Cop to come back because he just made the day easier. He was just so nonsensical, and I think there's a couple things. Like one, we were in Jesse's, the producer's backyard, and he dug this whole grave, but I'm pretty sure he dug into his septic tank. So you had all of these, like they took a backhoe and like took it all, like dug out like 15 feet deep. But I'm pretty sure we hit like sewage lines, and then you had zombies who are rolling around in that whole nightmare sequence out in the backyard scene. You know what I'm talking about? That smelled like
Mm-hmm.
absolutely sewage. And so we found out later that all these zombie guys are rolling around in like, I'm pretty sure human feces. So that made me laugh because I'm like, that's
Oh,
funny. Like that's really gross. And there's a couple of them that I'm like super
it's
committed to the rolling around. I'm just like, all right. And then the other things, I
It's
just
only
scared the
funny if
crap of.
it's not you.
Yeah, well, I was stepping in it. I was like up to my knees in it. I'm like, I've been suffering this whole movie, so to see other people suffer just kind of, I don't know, made me happy. I don't know. That makes me a horrible person. Probably does. But the other thing is, I scared every crew member really badly. On that was my goal. I just went through. I'm like, to get through it, I'm like, I need to scare people. So I would just hide in very random places. Um, in closets so that when people like I knew they were going to go into that closet at some point, I would just wait there so that when you open that door, there's just Psycho Goreman just staring at you and pedestrians. Anytime we went somewhere, my goal was to scare as many people or make it as awkward as possible. Because again, if you're not ready to see a purple monster and you just see that out of nowhere, it's very unnerving. So yeah.
mhm. And you're in costume too, so you can fuck around and nobody really knows it's you, so you can kind of have
Nobody
fun with it,
knows.
So
Nobody
that works
knows.
perfectly.
Oh yeah, yeah, so much fun.
Well, besides your own costume, what's your favorite costume or creature in the film?
I love the brain in the jar. Whatever that control is in the council, where that mouth just comes down. He's like in there for a second, but he steals it from me. I think he's so funny. Yeah, he's my favorite. I want his
Awesome.
backstory. I
Yeah,
want to know
they're
where he
all
came
they're
from. Yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, me too. Well, how was it working with Nita and Owen? I imagine that they had a lot of fun with you, and you had a lot of
yeah.
fun with them.
Nita and Owen are legit great, and they really made filming enjoyable and pass the time. There were some times that they actually drove me bonkers because they just get to be free and just run around and just like, oh, I'm acting, and I'm stuck in a suit, just starving myself. So just imagine all that energy when you're hangry. There's some scenes that I'm like, can I just? So some of it wasn't acting with them. I was like, I could legit strangle you right now, and I wouldn't feel bad about it. But they were joys, and Owen and I had a lot of fun. Again, he's just a little bit older than my own son, so it was just great to hang out with him, and he's going to be a great actor. I'm very excited for both of them for their careers because like Owen, I know his career's taken off, and Nita's been booking a lot of cool projects, and they're very talented. They're very good at what they do, and very yeah, working with them was awesome. So Nita is who she
Yeah,
is.
they
Though.
were very
That girl,
convincing in the movies.
Nita on screen is who Nita is off screen. So I just need to say that some days that can be a little much, but she is the star of the show, and she knows it. So yeah.
Yeah, they did great jobs. Like, and that's the thing. I see a lot of people, like everybody loves the movie, but like I see a criticism here and there, and it's like, oh, she was annoying, and I'm like, that was the point. That's the freaking point. She's not supposed to, like,
Yeah.
she's supposed to be the nagging, annoying sister, and it's hilarious. She did a great job, as did Owen. And I wanted to ask you how did they handle like seeing gore and stuff, like with your fight with Pandora at the end? Like how were they reacting, or were they not on set when that happened?
No, I think like at the end of the day, by the time we got to that fight, we filmed so much stuff. Like you have to remember, they watched the whole bucket of blood, 500 liters being shot at me. Like by that time, you're so desensitized that these kids are just like, oh, this is just sugar and corn syrup and like red food dye. Like it's yeah, and that fight scene, I think we filmed like that fight scene was like a 20-hour day. It was absolutely nuts that day. So everyone was just so sleep deprived that I don't even think they noticed half the stuff that was going on because everyone's just like, all right, where are we going? We're playing Crazy Ball now. Like it's like you have to remember, like Crazy Ball and the fight scene all happened in the same day. Like it was such a crazy, like it's just a
Oh
whirlwind.
my God.
So like the scene with me on the couch where they wrapped me up in a blanket. I was so tired that
Mhm.
3 times I fell asleep on set, and Nita woke me up. She's like, "You're snoring through my lines," and I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even know I fell asleep. I was just done. I was like, I'm just so exhausted, and I'm ruining the take because I'm snoring." So it's just like it's fun. It's a
That's
good day.
crazy
It
that the
was a good
crazy ball
day.
scene
Yeah,
and the final fight. I didn't know that took place on the same day. Holy shit.
yeah,
Yeah, that
yeah,
sounds exhausting.
yeah. So it
Wow.
was just running around. So. And the outdoor fight, again, just a 1 day fight with all those monsters, and it was raining, and the sun was going down, and it was just like go, 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 and
Hmm.
there was so much choreography that we just had to give up on just because we are losing light. So just again, just thinking back, I'm like, I don't know how they got it. So
Yeah, that's wild. Well, do you have a favorite line in the movie? Like a favorite quote? Like it doesn't have to be your own.
oh, oh my gosh, there's so many good ones. I love the
I know,
hunky
right?
boy line, like the hunky boy. Like when I read that in the script, I just died laughing. I love that whole sequence. The hunky boy is great. Frig off is great. Lazy Susan just that line. I don't think it wasn't in the script. So when I heard it, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's so freaking corny. But it just made me laugh so much. So there's so many hunky boys. Just I think that was just so good, and I think it's just iconic. So yeah,
I agree. It's just like
Yeah.
excuse me. Yeah, asking you that question, it seemed like it was as hard for you as it was for me when I wrote that question to ask you. I was like, man, there's so many. That movie's just riddled with them, like from the start of the movie. Like
yeah. It's
the
just
movie's just
one like I
hilarious.
wish you were dead. Like there's so many things that I was just like, ah, yeah, this is so much fun. So and
Well,
again, for your first monster movie, to have a monster that has all these juicy lines is just so funny. Like it's just like most monsters are in the shadow. They don't have any lines. They have a couple scares, a couple roars, and that's it. So Psycho Goreman's a whole beast of his own with just line after line after line. So
yeah, and that was like the funny thing is that like he's not supposed to be funny, but he is funny. It's the dark humor of it. It's like he's dead serious of what he's saying, but the way
yeah,
like the situations that he's in is like how it's hilarious because like he's used to being this freaking like warlord, this like
hmm
this just like and then all of a sudden it's like he's just controlled by kids and it's like nothing that he says is affecting them and he's used to like destroying planets, so it's freaking hilarious.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, well, what's the probability of a sequel? Is there serious talk about it, or is it just like an idea floating around?
No, there's serious talk. They I don't know what I'm allowed to say, but they've run a bunch of ideas. I've seen a couple things, a couple treatments. I'm excited. They have some really fun ideas coming down the pipeline. So I'm like, man, if any of these things happen, I know Shudder's loving the film, so it'd be really on them if something gets made. And the fans, the more the fans keep being the champion of it, the bigger the chances I'm jumping back in that suit with a butt flap. And yeah, it's really in the fans' hands. So if people like the movie, it's gonna have a sequel. They've been really happy with the response from it, and people got it. It was a risk. A lot of like I think of people that don't like it legitimately just don't understand what's trying to be
Correct.
made and the jokes and and I actually think in a couple of years, a light will go off and like, oh, now, and people's humor grows. So I do think more it's going to build an audience more and more and more. And yeah, so in short, I hope there's a sequel. I really do. I think there's a good chance there will be.
Well, trust me, we hope that there's a sequel as well. And I got to ask you, if there is a sequel, is there anything like have you brainstormed? Is there anything that you want to pull off in the sequel? Like anything you like? I mean, obviously nothing that's planned or that if you've already had talks about things that you can't speak about, that's fine. But anything like that you've thought of, where like, man, if there's a sequel, I would really like to do something like this. Like is there any ideas? Have you
I think
brainstormed?
we've spent so much time with Nita's family that if we could go into a universe where we can meet some of PG's family, I'd be very excited with that. I think that would be a lot of fun if there was a universe that we could explore, not the whole time, but to meet maybe some siblings. That would just bring me, or a mom or a dad. Like, who are the people who made this character? I would love to meet them. Um, but yeah, but Nita's going to be older now, so it's a whole different ball game, and I hope they make something soon because she's no longer a kid. She's a teenager, which has a whole host of storylines that you can go with. So I just hope things move and then we get filming soon. So before they turn into full blown adults.
And did you have a favorite kill from the movie?
What favorite kill? That's a shoot. I love the scene where Witchmaster gets just eaten. Like just seeing that puppet head for PG, how big it gets and how that mouth just encompasses. I'm sorry, that was just like when I read that, I'm like, how are they gonna do it? And then when I saw them building the pieces, I'm like, they're doing it. Like this is nuts. This is absolutely crazy. And then being on set, seeing it happen, and then seeing the final product, and I love that mouthpiece. It was so cool. So that's my favorite, just because of all the work that went into it. That's my favorite kill for sure.
Yeah, that's
And
that's
then
a good one.
every time Zombie Cop has tried to kill himself with his own gun.
I love Zombie Cop. It's such
Yeah,
it's such a dumb character, but I love him.
yeah,
And those fight scenes, what was it like trying to actually do the fight scenes inside of the suits?
well, punches don't hurt as much when you're covered in foam, so that's nice. So when things actually hit you, it's like, oh, that wasn't too bad. The only thing is there was this scene that I get hit by a bat, and they said the bat wasn't going to hurt. That thing hurt, and they kept on doing it. And I was just like, hey guys, this hurts, like because man, she would just come up and she just wail on me with that thing. I'm like, okay, are we done this yet? Because I'm bruising, and we're like at the beginning of the movie. This bat is like it's rubber, but still, it had a zing to it. But fight scenes were fun. It again, like it's hard to move in them. It's hard to move in the suit. So, but I had such a blast when we got to the final crazy ball fight. I was so happy because most of the day I'm just locked into this pose of like not moving because every time I move, I break the suit. Like if I move this way, it rips here, makeup has to come, they put a new piece of flesh on there, they glue it all up and they're like, can you not move anymore? So you stand there kind of miserable. So when we did the fight scenes, I'm allowed to actually move. I'm allowed to like rip the suit and it feels so good. It's like the best. So yeah, more fight scenes.
And with Crazy Ball, did you have fun playing Crazy Ball?
Crazy Ball was so fun. I straight up, I was trying to hit people. I wasn't holding back at all. I'm going for
I can't
headshots this
blame you.
whole game. So
And you've played monsters before, you said, but I believe this is the first time you've had to do it in the foam latex.
and let me clarify. Since PG's the other monsters, so this is my first monster character is Psycho Goreman. Yeah.
And was this the only one you did the foam latex for?
Yeah, so this is the whole foam latex and all glued down to the body. So this was my first experience, and I remember calling my agent partway through, and just like, "You did not tell me this was going to be this bad," and she told me to suck it up, Buttercup, and here we are.
It sounds like the right call was made. I mean, it's a great movie.
Yeah, no, it was great. It was great. So, and again, you don't know how to explain it to somebody. It's like wearing somebody else's skin on your body all day. Like how else do I communicate that to you? And then you're sealed in and all your sweat just kind of permeates and has nowhere to go. And then when they open it up, you have a and it's just like, oh, that's me. And then by day 30, you're like, oh, that's 30 days of me. Like it's just like it's gnarly. So
And now, when you were in the scenes, did you speak yourself and they later dub over it, or were you just lip syncing while they played it?
no. So I did the whole movie and then they dubbed it over in post.
And were there any scenes like you filmed, and then when you saw them, they were even funnier than you thought they were when you filmed them?
To be honest, the whole time it was nervous because you don't know. Like I thought in my head, I'm like, oh, this could be funny, this could be good, um, and and you hope for it. Like I'm very happy with how things came across. There's always like if it's funny on set, sometimes it's not funny in the movie, and that's always the thing that kind of scares me is like if you're making a joke and people are laughing on set, I'm like, is it going to still work? Because you can be so tired on set and you just think something's funny because you're just tired, like just that nonsensical ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
So I was very happy that a lot of the jokes that were funny on set still came across, and for all the characters, and that it wasn't a problem. Like they had to cut scenes out that were hilarious just because of timing, and things that like I love. Like there's a whole singing scene of Psycho Goreman that is actually super funny. But just for timing, just like, all right, we just don't have time for this. I'm like, well, I hope we get to explore this another time. So, but
Yeah, I need to see that.
you always hope that's gonna be funny, and yeah.
And speaking of music, and how much fun did you have doing the Hunky Boy video?
Hunky Boy video, amazing. The drum video was fantastic. And there's a little music, the scene in the garage where we actually got to jam out. That was one of my favorite days on set because I play drums horribly, but I love playing them. So I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, it's one of the funniest parts of the entire thing. It's just the Hunky Boy video.
Yeah.
And now, with movies you've directed and you act in, they encompass a lot of genres. Were you a horror fan before you did Death on Scenic Drive?
So I'm not like I'm always afraid to say this. I like movies. I like all movies. So I've always enjoyed the horror genre, and I grew up watching Chucky and being terrified of these films. But it's not like I collected horror do you understand? Like I feel like there's different levels of it.
Yep, I totally get you.
So I've always I watch movies, all movies. So and my range of movies is like I want to be scared, and but then I want to watch some action movie, or I want to watch a foreign. Like I just love stories. I love really well done horror movies, and I love action. I love when you can actually put the two genres together, because I think that's a very rare thing that you can do. Like I really enjoyed Overlord, for instance. I thought that was a fun movie where you can kind of jam those two things together. But I would never say I'd be like crazy into horror movies, but I've watched a lot of horror movies before this, if that makes sense. So,
So do you have a favorite horror movie?
yeah, I knew that question was coming. And as I was talking, I'm like, I should just probably know that this is, but like, no. I like, Frank, I don't. Like, I just, ugh. There's just so many because you can go to the olden classics like recently something that just it's not even a horror movie, but anything that has bugs or creatures just freaks me out, like Life, for instance. It's not really a horror movie. I don't know if it is, but that alien in that thing, that freaks the crap out of me. Like, I don't know how to deal with that, and that terrifies me. So like, that is a movie where it's like, if you have the Nun, I'm not too much like supernatural, doesn't really scare me that much, but like an actual organism that could exist, that terrifies me. I'm like, never makes
Life
me
was
want
a
to go.
great
Like,
movie.
so, or Jaws. Like, Jaws terrifies me. Like, growing up, Jaws was like, I'm never going swimming. I'm from the East Coast. I lost 2 summers of my life because of Jaws. I'm like, I'm never going in the ocean. Like, I'm not. It's done. It's a done deal. And yeah, so
So Spielberg had a real effect on you.
Spielberg is great. I love Spielberg. I think what he does is fantastic. So.
And we definitely appreciate you joining us today. And do you have any projects upcoming?
I have a couple of things upcoming. I worked on another, so I don't even know what I'm allowed to talk about. It's so weird. It's so weird working on stuff and not knowing if you're supposed to talk about it. But so Steve is working on another project that I was working on with him, which I can't even talk about. And then Chris, who was also Chris Nash, who's helping Steve with the makeup, is doing his own movie, which is really cool. And I just was acting in that as well. And that's going to be going on Shudder. I can't even say what it is. So, and then I have,
Shudder's been killing it lately with the
Shudder's
movies.
killing it. And then my movie is not maybe could go to Shudder. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that. So we made a film during the pandemic, and it may or may not be on Shudder in December. So it's like, it's so weird. I'm like, man, I made this. It's done. Let's hype this. But you never know what you're supposed to talk about. But after I was done doing PG, I asked Steve, I'm like, hey, can you make a monster for my movie? And he's like, I got all your stuff. I can make you a monster. So we talked about some design. So I actually got to direct and be the monster in a movie that will be going or may not be going to Shudder for Christmas. So yeah, we'll see. It's the worst plug you could ever do. Just all vague, mysterious. Gosh. Anyway.
Well,
yeah.
is there anywhere online that anybody could follow you so when you get more concrete details, they can be updated about it?
That's true. I'm so bad online. No, IMDb. You could see that there's a thing that I'm part of on there that I'm not supposed to talk about, but it's on IMDb. So like, why is it a big deal? But yeah, we made like an action thriller horror movie that I'm very excited about, and it was our pandemic weekend project that us and the guys just got together and had fun with, and super appreciate Steve because him and Chris just made some really cool monsters for me, and yeah, I got to live my dream of being a director and a monster, so it's cool. Different than very different than Psycho Goreman though. So yeah.
Well, hopefully when all that comes out, we'll talk to you again about that. But we definitely want to thank you for being on today. We're huge fans of Psycho Goreman, and we definitely hope it does get a sequel.
Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you again.
Take care.
Thanks to the horror hounds and smokers out there for tuning in. Thanks to Matthew Ninaber for joining us as well. Drew and I, again, we can't say enough good things about Psycho Goreman. And Matthew, I hope they do get you those butt flaps. Hashtag PG butt flaps. And if you haven't, make sure to check out Psycho Goreman now, available on Shudder. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at High on Horror 420. You can email us at highonhorror420@gmail.com. Make sure to stop by our website, highonhorror.com, and you can sign up for our newsletter to get the latest episodes and guest announcements rolled into your inbox. And that'll about wrap her up. Catch you later.
Bye, everybody.